I, 40 farads, am at a complete loss and don't know where to turn anymore. My wedding day, which should have been the happiest day of my life, turned into an absolute nightmare because of my family. I'm hoping that by sharing my story here, I can get some advice or at least some support from people who might have gone through similar experiences. Let me start by giving you some background on my family situation. I'm the youngest of two daughters in what I can only describe as a dysfunctional family. My older sister, 43 farads, has always been the golden child, while I've been the black sheep since I can remember. Our parents, 60s M/F, have always favored her, and it's been a source of constant pain and frustration throughout my life. Growing up, I was always compared to my sister. She was the straight A student, the popular one, the one who could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. I, on the other hand, was constantly criticized and made to feel like I wasn't good enough. No matter what I achieved, it was never enough to match up to my sister's accomplishments in their eyes. I remember one particular incident that really drove this home for me. When I was in middle school, I won first place in the state science fair. I was ecstatic and couldn't wait to share the news with my parents. But when I got home, beaming with pride and clutching my blue ribbon, my mother's first response was, "That's nice, dear. Did you hear about your sister's latest accomplishment? She just got accepted into the National Honor Society." Just like that, my achievement was brushed aside and forgotten. This dynamic only got worse as we got older. When I was in high school, I was sent to boarding school. At the time, my parents said it was to give me better opportunities, but looking back, I realize it was just their way of pushing me aside. While my sister got to stay at home and enjoy all the attention and support, I was shipped off to fend for myself. The years at boarding school were tough. I felt abandoned and unwanted. While other kids received care packages and frequent calls from their parents, I was lucky if I got a brief, impersonal email once a month. Holidays were particularly difficult. I often had to stay at school because my parents were too busy to have me home, usually because they were involved in some activity with my sister. Despite the distance and lack of support from my family, I managed to do well in school and eventually built a successful career for myself. I'm now a senior executive at a tech company, something I'm incredibly proud of considering where I started. But even with all my professional achievements, my family still treats me like the failure they've always seen me as. Fast forward to present day. I've been with my now husband, 42M, for 5 years. He's been my rock, the first person to truly see and appreciate me for who I am. When we got engaged last year, I was over the moon. I thought that maybe, just maybe, this would be the turning point in my relationship with my family. I imagined them finally being proud of me, welcoming my husband into the family with open arms. How naive I was. From the moment we announced our engagement, my family managed to make it all about them. My mother criticized every decision I made about the wedding, from the venue to my dress choice. She insisted that we have the wedding in my hometown, at the same country club where my sister got married. When I explained that we wanted a destination wedding at a beach resort, she scoffed and said, "Well, I suppose that's more your style. It's a shame you don't have more refined tastes like your sister." My father barely acknowledged the engagement at all. When I called to tell him the news, his response was a disinterested, "Oh, that's nice," before immediately launching into a story about my sister's latest achievement at work. It was as if my engagement was a minor inconvenience, interrupting his praise for his favorite daughter. And my sister? She somehow made my engagement about her, telling anyone who would listen how she had always wanted me to find someone, as if she'd been my biggest supporter all along. She'd make comments like, I was starting to worry she'd never find anyone willing to put up with her, disguising her insults as concern. The wedding planning process was a nightmare from start to finish. Every decision I made was questioned and criticized. My mother insisted on being involved in every aspect of the planning, not to help, but to voice her disapproval at every turn. She hated the flowers I chose, thought the menu was too exotic, and constantly compared everything to my sister's wedding. Despite all this, I still held out hope that my wedding day would be different. I invited them all, including my aunt, 58 feuds, who has been estranged from the family for years. My aunt had always been kind to me when I was younger, often acting as a buffer between me and my parents. However, she had a falling out with my father years ago over some family business matters and had been ostracized ever since. I thought inviting her might be a chance for everyone to reconcile and start fresh. Boy, was I wrong. The day of the wedding started off tense. My mother and sister arrived at the bridal suite, not to help me get ready, but to nitpick every detail. My mother complained about my hair, saying it wasn't sophisticated enough. My sister made snide comments about how my dress made me look a bit wide. I tried to brush it off, reminding myself that this was my day, and I wouldn't let them ruin it. The ceremony itself went smoothly, thankfully. As I walked down the aisle, I caught sight of my husband's face, full of love and adoration, and for a moment, all the family drama faded away. We exchanged our vows, and for a brief moment, I felt like everything was perfect. But then came the reception, and that's when all hell broke loose. It started when my parents spotted my aunt. My father's face turned red with anger, and he stormed over to me, demanding to know why that woman was there. I tried to explain that I wanted the whole family together for my special day, but he wouldn't hear it. He started yelling, causing a scene in front of all our guests. "How dare you invite her without consulting us?" he shouted, his face purple with rage. "After everything she's done to this family, you have the audacity to bring her here." I tried to calm him down, explaining that this was meant to be a day of celebration and reconciliation, but he was having none of it. My mother joined in, berating me for inviting my aunt without consulting them first. She accused me of trying to stir up trouble and ruin the family reputation. My sister, ever the opportunist, used this moment to play the role of peacemaker, all while subtly reminding everyone how she would never cause such drama. She flitted between groups of guests, no doubt spreading her version of events, painting herself as the voice of reason in our chaotic family. The situation escalated quickly. My father threatened to leave if my aunt didn't go, while my mother tearfully told other guests how I had always been difficult. My poor husband tried to intervene, but my father nearly pushed him in his rage. "Stay out of this," my father snarled at him. "This is family business. You don't know what she's really like. She's always been trouble, always trying to tear this family apart." I was horrified. Not only were they ruining my wedding day, but they were also trying to poison my new husband against me. It was at that moment that I realized I couldn't let this continue. With tears in my eyes, I turned to the security team we had hired for the event. "Please," I said, my voice shaking, "escort my parents out. They're no longer welcome here." The look of shock on my parents' faces would have been almost comical if the situation wasn't so heartbreaking. As security approached them, my mother burst into dramatic sobs, while my father continued to shout obscenities. My sister, seeing which way the wind was blowing, quickly aligned herself with our parents. "How could you do this?" she cried, her voice pitched to carry to the surrounding guests. "They're your parents. I always knew you were selfish, but this is a new low, even for you." As they were led away, my sister turned to the gathered crowd. "I apologize for my sister's behavior," she said loudly. "She's always been difficult. Please, enjoy the rest of the evening. Don't let her drama ruin the celebration." And with that parting shot, they were gone. The rest of the reception was a blur. I put on a brave face for our guests, but inside, I was devastated. What should have been the happiest day of my life had been tarnished by my family's inability to put aside their issues for even one day. I thought that would be the end of it, that maybe, after cooling down, my family would realize how badly they had behaved and apologize. But no, it only got worse. The day after the wedding, I woke up to find my phone flooded with messages. Friends, distant relatives, even some colleagues were reaching out, asking if I was okay and what had happened. Confused, I opened social media to find that my sister had gone on a full-blown smear campaign against me. She had posted a long, detailed account of the wedding, painting herself and our parents as the victims. According to her post, I had deliberately invited our estranged aunt to cause drama and hurt our parents. She claimed that I had always been jealous of her and our parents' relationship, and that this was my way of lashing out. Her post read, in part, "I'm heartbroken to have to share this, but I feel like the truth needs to be told. My sister has always struggled with jealousy and resentment towards our family. Yesterday, at what should have been a joyous occasion, she deliberately created a situation to hurt our parents and cause a scene. She invited our estranged aunt, knowing full well the pain and trouble this would cause, just to be spiteful. When our parents understandably got upset, she had them forcibly removed from the wedding. I've tried for years to help my sister work through her issues, but it's clear now that she's beyond help. I fear that she's being influenced by her new husband, who seems to be encouraging her to cut ties with the family. Please keep our parents in your thoughts during this difficult time." She even went so far as to imply that my new husband was controlling and had encouraged me to cut ties with the family. The post was filled with lies and exaggerations, but presented in such a way that anyone who didn't know the full story would believe her. She had carefully crafted it to make herself look like the caring, concerned sister, and me the ungrateful, spiteful daughter. What hurt the most was seeing how many people were buying into it. The post had hundreds of comments, many from family friends and relatives, expressing their shock at my behavior and offering support to my sister and parents. People I had known my whole life were suddenly turning against me based on my sister's twisted version of events. I was in shock. How could she do this? How could she take one of the most important days of my life and turn it into a weapon against me? I felt betrayed, angry, and utterly helpless. My husband suggested we respond to set the record straight, but I knew that would only add fuel to the fire. My sister has always been skilled at manipulating situations to her advantage. If I responded publicly, she would find a way to use it against me to make me look even worse. So here I am, 3 days after what should have been the happiest day of my life, feeling more alone and hurt than ever. My new husband is supportive, but I can see the strain this is putting on him too. He didn't sign up for this level of family drama. I'm at a loss for what to do next. Part of me wants to cut ties with my family completely. After all, they've shown time and time again that they don't truly care about my happiness. But another part of me, the part that still yearns for their approval and love, can't bear the thought of losing them entirely. Do I try to reach out and mend fences? Do I demand an apology and retraction from my sister? Or do I accept that this might be the final straw and start the process of cutting them out of my life for good? I never thought I'd be in this position at 40 years old, feeling like a scared, unloved child all over again. Any advice or words of support would be greatly appreciated. Has anyone else dealt with toxic family members like this? How did you handle it? I'm sorry for the long post. There's so much more I could say, so many more examples of how my family has hurt me over the years, but I think this gives you a good idea of what I'm dealing with. Thank you for reading, and thank you in advance for any help you can offer. Update 1. It's been a month since my wedding day disaster, and I can't believe how much has happened. Thank you all for your support and advice on my last post. Your words gave me the strength to take action. Here's what's been going on. After consulting with a lawyer, I decided to file a defamation lawsuit against my sister. Her social media post about the wedding was full of lies and has seriously damaged my reputation. We're seeking damages for emotional distress and potential career impact. My lawyer believes we have a strong case, given the blatant falsehoods in her post and the evidence of her long-standing pattern of manipulation. But that's not all. My aunt, whose presence at the wedding caused such an uproar, has decided to file her own lawsuit against my parents for years of emotional abuse and manipulation. Her lawsuit details a long history of gaslighting, lies, and manipulative behavior. It's heartbreaking to read her account and realize just how toxic my family truly is. The most shocking part: Many of the incidents she describes mirror my own experiences growing up. It's like looking at my childhood through a different lens, and suddenly so many things make sense. As you can imagine, my parents and sister didn't take these lawsuits well. They've been on a rampage, calling every family member and mutual acquaintance to paint themselves as the victims. My sister has even started a GoFundMe page for her legal fees, claiming that I'm trying to destroy the family with my baseless accusations. The legal process has been intense. We've had several preliminary hearings, and the evidence-gathering phase has been eye-opening. My lawyer has subpoenaed my sister's phone records and private messages, which have revealed some truly disturbing conversations between her and my parents. They were actively plotting to ruin my wedding and tarnish my reputation long before the actual day. One particularly damning piece of evidence is a series of text messages between my sister and mother, where they discuss how to put me in my place at the wedding. There's even a message from my sister saying, "Don't worry, I'll make sure everyone knows what a horrible person she is. By the time I'm done, no one will believe a word she says." As for my aunt's case, the evidence she's presented is equally shocking. There are emails from my father to her former employers, spreading lies about her work ethic and character. There are also recordings of phone calls where my mother threatens to destroy my aunt if she ever tries to reconcile with the family. The court proceedings have been grueling. My sister tried to have the case dismissed, claiming that her post was just her opinion and protected free speech. Thankfully, the judge didn't buy it and ruled that the case could proceed. My parents' reaction to my aunt's lawsuit has been explosive. They've hired an aggressive law firm known for their ruthless tactics. Their defense strategy seems to be to paint my aunt as mentally unstable and unreliable. It's painful to watch them try to destroy yet another family member, but it's also strangely validating. Throughout this process, I've been in constant contact with my aunt. We've become each other's support system, sharing our experiences and helping each other stay strong. It's bittersweet to finally have this connection with her, but I'm grateful for her presence in my life now. The most surprising development came when my grandmother, my father's mother, reached out to me. After hearing about the lawsuits, she decided to come forward with her own stories about my parents' behavior. She's provided a sworn statement corroborating many of my aunt's claims and offering additional instances of my parents' manipulative behavior. Her support has been a game changer for both our cases. As for the outcomes, both cases are still ongoing, but we've had some positive developments. In my case against my sister, the judge has issued a temporary injunction ordering her to remove the defamatory post and refrain from making any further public statements about me or the wedding until the case is resolved. In my aunt's case, the judge has denied my parents' motion to dismiss and has allowed the case to proceed to trial. The judge's comments during the hearing were encouraging, noting that my aunt's claims seemed to have merit and deserved a full hearing. The emotional toll of all this has been immense. There are days when I question whether it's all worth it. But then I remember all the years of pain and manipulation, and I know I'm doing the right thing. This isn't just about me anymore. It's about breaking the cycle of abuse and standing up for the truth. My husband has been my rock through all of this. His unwavering support reminds me every day that I made the right choice in marrying him, regardless of my family's opinions. Some of our mutual friends and extended family members have started to see through my sister's and parents' facade. As more details of the case become public, people are reaching out to apologize for believing their lies and to offer their support. Looking ahead, both cases are set for trial in the coming months. My lawyer is optimistic about our chances, especially given the evidence we've gathered. But regardless of the legal outcome, I feel like I've already won in a way. For the first time in my life, I'm standing up for myself, refusing to let my family's toxicity control my life any longer. I know the road ahead is still long and likely to be difficult, but I'm committed to seeing this through, not just for myself, but for anyone who has ever felt trapped in a toxic family dynamic. If my story can give even one person the courage to stand up for themselves, then all of this will have been worth it. Thank you all again for your support. I'll update again when there are more developments in the cases. Wish me luck. Update 2. It's been 2 weeks since my last update, and the situation with my family has taken some unexpected turns. I'm still processing everything, but here are the latest developments. My parents' reaction to the ongoing lawsuits has shifted. Last week, I received a call from my father, the first since the wedding. His tone was different, almost defeated. He asked if we could meet in person to talk things through. After discussing it with my husband and therapist, I agreed to a meeting at a neutral cafe. The meeting was tense at first, but as we started talking, something changed. For the first time, I felt like they were really listening. I told them everything, how their favoritism had affected me, the pain of being sent to boarding school, the constant feeling of inadequacy. To my surprise, they didn't try to defend themselves. My mother started crying, real tears this time. "We've been terrible parents," she admitted. My father, usually so stoic, looked shaken. "I always thought I was pushing you to be better," he said. "I never realized I was pushing you away. It wasn't a magic fix, of course. Years of hurt don't disappear in one conversation. But it felt like a start. They even asked about the possibility of family therapy, which gave me a glimmer of hope. Now, for the most shocking development, my grandmother's decision. Last week, she called a family meeting with everyone present. She announced that she had made changes to her will and wanted to explain face to face. Grandmother has decided to remove my parents and sister from her will entirely. Instead, she's leaving the bulk of her estate to me and my aunt, with provisions for charitable donations to organizations supporting victims of family abuse. The room exploded into chaos. My sister screamed about unfairness, my mother pleaded with grandmother to reconsider, and my father sat in stunned silence. Grandmother remained calm, explaining, "This isn't about punishment, it's about acknowledging the truth and trying to right some wrongs." She hopes this decision will serve as a wake-up call. "Money isn't everything," she said, "but maybe losing this inheritance will make you realize what's truly important: family, love, and treating each other with respect." I was in shock, feeling both vindicated and uncomfortable. When I expressed this, grandmother simply said, "Use it to build the life and family you've always deserved." This decision has, unsurprisingly, caused another rift. My sister is refusing to speak to anyone, and my parents are torn between anger at grandmother and a growing realization of their actions' consequences. Rebuilding family relationships has been challenging. We've started family therapy sessions, which have been draining but enlightening. My sister remains the biggest challenge, still convinced she's the victim and refusing to participate in reconciliation attempts. My aunt and I have grown closer, meeting regularly and supporting each other. It's bittersweet. I'm grateful for this relationship, but sad it took so much pain to get here. As for me, I'm taking things one day at a time. Some days I feel hopeful, other days the past feels overwhelming. My husband continues to be my biggest supporter. We're focusing on building our own family traditions and support network, even considering starting a support group for people dealing with toxic family dynamics. The legal proceedings are ongoing, but my lawyer has suggested we might be able to reach an out-of-court settlement, given recent developments. I'm considering this, especially if it means focusing on healing rather than fighting. I know we have a long road ahead. Rebuilding trust takes time, and there will be setbacks. But for the first time in a long time, I feel cautiously optimistic about the future of my family relationships. Thank you all again for your support throughout this journey. I'll update again when there are more developments. Wish us luck as we navigate this new chapter. Update 3. It's been a month since my last update, and the changes in my family dynamics have been significant. The journey of reconciliation has been challenging, but surprisingly hopeful. We've been attending family therapy sessions twice a week. It's been exhausting and enlightening, diving deep into our family history and uncovering generational patterns of behavior. My parents have been making a real effort to listen and understand the impact of their actions. A breakthrough moment came when my father, usually stoic, broke down while recounting his childhood trauma. It was the first time I'd seen him vulnerable, helping me understand his distant and critical behavior. It doesn't excuse his actions, but it provides context. My mother has been seeing a therapist on her own, working through her control and perfectionism issues. Last week, she gave me a genuine apology without excuses, a small but monumental step. My sister has been the most resistant. She initially refused therapy, insisting she was the victim. After a talk with our grandmother, she reluctantly joined us. Progress is slow, but she's showing up. Building new family relationships has been a process of small steps. My aunt and I have grown closer, starting a tradition of Sunday brunches. It's healing to have this positive female relationship I never had growing up. Surprisingly, my bond with my grandmother has blossomed. She's become a source of wisdom and support, often mediating family conflicts and sharing family stories that shed new light on our dynamics. My husband and I have focused on building our own family unit, establishing new traditions and boundaries. We've even started discussing having children, something I was hesitant about before. Now, I feel more confident in my ability to break the cycle and be a loving parent. Personally, I've realized that forgiveness isn't about excusing past behavior, but freeing myself from anger and resentment. It's a daily practice, and some days are harder than others, but I'm committed. I've also learned to set and maintain healthy boundaries, speaking up when I feel uncomfortable or disrespected. This assertiveness has improved both my family relationships and my professional life. Looking ahead, I feel cautiously optimistic. I know healing is a long-term process with inevitable setbacks, but for the first time, I feel we're all moving in the right direction. We've decided to drop the lawsuits and focus on healing. Instead, we're working on a family charter, outlining our commitments to each other and agreed-upon behaviors. My husband and I are planning a vow renewal ceremony for our first anniversary, reclaiming the joy stolen from our wedding. We're inviting only those who've been supportive throughout this journey. Career-wise, I'm considering becoming a family therapist to help others navigate similar challenges. It feels like a way to turn my painful experiences into something positive. As I reflect, I'm filled with gratitude for my husband's support, loyal friends, and even the challenges that forced us to confront our issues. To anyone dealing with toxic family dynamics, there is hope. Change is possible, but it requires courage, commitment, and hard work from all parties. Remember, it's okay to prioritize your well-being. Sometimes, maintaining distance is the healthiest choice. Thank you all for being part of this journey. While we still have a long road ahead, I'm looking forward to the future with hope and determination. Here's to healing, growth, and the families we choose to build, whether related by blood or love.